So AI agents are getting crazy powerful, right? We're starting to ask them to tackle these massive, complex jobs, things that could take hours, maybe even days. But there's this one huge problem that just keeps holding them back. And honestly, it's their memory. It's terrible. So how do we build agents that, well, don't forget? Let's dive in.
Okay, so imagine this. You hire the absolute best software engineer on the planet, a real genius. But there's a catch. Every morning they walk into the office and poof, they have absolutely no memory of anything they did yesterday. Not a single line of code, not one meeting. That, right there, is the exact challenge we're up against with AI agents today.
Now, there's a technical name for this, of course. It's called the context window. And you can basically think of it as the AI's short-term memory, but only for one single work session. It's like a work shift. The AI knows everything that happened during that shift. But the second the session ends, that memory is just gone, wiped clean.
So yeah, this leads us to what we can call the amnesic coder problem. I mean, seriously, how are you supposed to build anything big or complicated when your coder has to start from square one every single time?
Without some kind of bridge connecting these isolated, memoryless sessions, the agent just ends up reinventing the wheel over and over again. And, this total lack of continuity, it's the real reason why so many of these big, ambitious projects using AI agents just fizzle out and fail.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this amnesia actually makes agents fail. Researchers over at Anthropic were putting their Claude model to the test, giving it a really complex job, like building a whole web app from scratch. And they started to see two really specific, really common ways things went wrong.
They basically found that these failing agents developed two kinds of personalities. First, you've got the overachiever, and second, there is the early quitter. And as you can probably guess, having either of them on your team is it's super frustrating and brings the whole project to a grinding halt. So, first up, let's talk about the overachiever. This agent is all ambition. It tries to do everything, the entire app, all in one shot. And of course, it inevitably blows past its short-term memory limit and just stops cold. What's left behind is this chaotic, half-built mess with zero documentation for whoever or whatever comes next. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the early quitter. This agent logs in for a new session, sees a bit of code already there, and without having any clue about the big picture, it just goes, "Looks done to me," and declares victory. It just gives up way, way too early, and the project is left totally unfinished.
All right, so if that's how AI agents are failing, the big question is, how do we fix it? Well, funny enough, the inspiration for the solution comes from looking right at how humans solve this exact same kind of problem.
No, really. Think about it for a second. How do massive teams of human engineers, people working in different countries, across different time zones, for months or even years, build incredibly complex software without it all turning into a total disaster? The answer's simple. They definitely don't rely on just their memory.
What they do is use a structured toolkit, right? They make these super detailed feature lists so everybody knows exactly what needs to be built. They use version control, like Git, to track every little change. They keep meticulous progress logs, and they write structured tests to make sure everything is actually working. All of this together creates a kind of external shared memory for the entire project.
So, taking a page right out of that human playbook, Anthropic came up with a really clever solution. It's basically a tale of two agents, where each one has a very, very specific job to do.
So, let's meet the team. First up, we have the initializer agent. Think of this one as the master planner, the architect. And then you've got the coding agent. This is the focused worker, the one who actually gets things done, picking up right where the previous session left off.
Now, the initializer agent, it's a one-and-done deal. It runs just once, right at the very start of the project. Its entire purpose is to create that structured environment we were talking about. It spits out a detailed feature list, it sets up a progress log file, it initializes a Git repository for version control, it even writes a little setup script to get things going. Basically, its job is to build the entire foundation.
Okay, so with that solid foundation now in place, the coding agent can finally step in and have a genuinely productive day at the office, and it can do this session after session after session.
So here's what happens at the start of every single session. The coding agent follows this simple but really powerful routine. First, it figures out where it is. Then it reads through all the Git logs and the progress files to get caught up.
Next, it looks at the big picture, that feature list. And then, and this is the most important part, it picks just one single unfinished feature to focus on. And that is the core idea right there. By focusing on just one small piece of the puzzle at a time, and then leaving behind super clean, super clear updates, a nice Git commit with a good description, a quick note in the progress file, the agent makes steady, reliable, bit-by-bit progress. And just like that, you've gotten rid of the overachievers and the early quitters.
And here you can see exactly how it all snaps together. Remember that early quitter problem where the agent just gives up? Well, that's solved because the initializer created that complete feature list. And what about the overachiever leaving behind a buggy mess? The coding agent takes care of that by reading the logs, running tests, and leaving those clean commits. It's a perfect, systematic fix for every single one of those failure points.
Look, this two-agent system is a massive leap forward. But what's really exciting is that it opens the door for some even more amazing ideas about what the future of agent teams could look like.
I mean, just think about it. What if you had a whole team of specialized agents? You could have one that literally only does testing, another one that's a dedicated QA specialist. Maybe you even have one whose only job is to go back and clean up the code. And you can take these same core ideas, structured work, external memory, and apply them to completely different fields, like really complex scientific research or heavy-duty financial modeling.
So you see, by giving AI agents the tools they need to remember, we're doing a lot more than just making them better coders. We're actually creating a blueprint for these collaborative, persistent AI teams. Teams that could honestly build the next huge scientific discovery or that next big technological breakthrough. At this point, the question really isn't if AI teams can take on these massive challenges. The real question is, what are they going to build first?